There's a silence you enter when the world forgets your name, when your cries echo into nothing, when the light disappears, not suddenly, but slowly, until you realize you've been walking blind for miles, and no one noticed. You're not alone. We've all been there. That place, beneath the noise, where the distractions stop working, where the people you counted on vanish, where your mind turns against you, and all you have left is you, stripped of the masks, the comforts, the titles, the lies. This is where resilience is born. Not in motivational speeches, not in podcasts or feel-good quotes, but in the void, in the loneliness, in the moments you wonder if it's even worth fighting anymore. Resilience is not sexy, it's savage. It's built when you drag your broken body into battle, again and again, knowing the odds are against you, and going anyway. It's forged in rejection, heartbreak, debt, sickness, failure, and betrayal. It's not the armor you wear. It's the scars beneath it. Let me be clear. Resilience is not about pretending to be okay. It's not about putting on a smile when you feel like you're drowning. It's not about being immune to pain. Resilience is about being willing to face it. To look pain in the eye and say, "You can stay, but you won't stop me." You want to master resilience? Then stop romanticizing comfort. Stop chasing ease. Stop waiting for the world to be kind to you. It won't. But that's the test, isn't it? The ones who rise are not the ones with fewer problems. They're the ones who've trained in pain. They're the ones who learn to bend, but never break. They're the ones who understand that pressure doesn't ruin diamonds. It creates them. So if you feel like you're being crushed, maybe, just maybe, you're in the process of becoming something stronger than you ever imagined. Let's break this down. You want to master resilience? Then it's time to train in the 6 disciplines that shape the unbreakable. Lesson 1. Master the fall. They say the fall is what breaks most people. That once you've tasted the dirt, you never get the same fire back. But they are not warriors. They are tourists in the battlefield of life. Fragile souls looking for shortcuts through the war zone. We are not them. We don't run from the fall. We don't pray to avoid it. We walk into it, eyes open, fists clenched, ready to bleed. Because we understand something the weak never will. The fall is not the enemy. The fall is the initiation, the trial, the furnace, the gate you must crawl through to become something different. You want to be unbreakable? Then you must first be broken, shattered so deeply that your old identity can no longer hold. Because the fall doesn't just take your pride, it takes your illusions. The illusion that you were in control, the illusion that life owed you something, the illusion that comfort would carry you to greatness. It tears those myths apart, mercilessly. And what's left? Just you, raw, exposed, honest. The fall is the most honest place in existence. It's where your masks don't matter, where your followers, your income, your physique, your accolades, none of it counts. Because when life throws you face first into the gravel, the only thing that matters is, will you get up? And if so, who will you be when you rise? Because no one escapes the fall, but not everyone rises. From it changed. Let me show you how to master the fall. 1. Stop resisting it. Most people make it worse by fighting it. They grip the past. They scream, "Why me?" They blame everyone. But the master of resilience accepts the plunge. They know resistance is pain. Surrender is power. Not surrender to defeat, but surrender to the lesson. You let the floor collapse. You let yourself fall. And as you do, you observe. You watch the old you crack and splinter, because you are not here to patch the old. You're here to forge the new. Second, study the pain. Don't numb it. Don't distract from it. Don't cover it with shallow affirmations or social media validation. Sit with it. Stare at it like a warrior planning their revenge. Ask the questions. What did this fall reveal about my character? Where did I build on sand instead of stone? What weaknesses did this expose that I pretended weren't there? The fall isn't senseless. It's diagnostic. It's your audit. And if you're brave enough to examine the wreckage, you'll find every truth you've been avoiding. 3. Burn the blueprint. Most people fall and try to rebuild the same life, the same habits, the same relationships, the same broken path. That's not mastery. That's insanity. Mastering the fall means letting it end you, letting it annihilate the false version of you that kept you average. You don't want your old life back. You want a new level, one that costs more, one that demands rebirth. So you burn the blueprint. You stop trying to bounce back. You erase the old map and begin to draw your own. 4. Create in the collapse. This is where you separate from the herd. Most people lie paralyzed in the pit, waiting for rescue, praying someone sees them, begging life to be merciful. But the master begins to build right there in the ashes. They take what they learned from the fall and begin designing their future. Not when things get better, not when motivation returns, but while the blood is still dripping. Because there is something sacred about creating from pain. You're not building for comfort anymore. You're building for survival, for power, for revenge against your former self. You use the silence of the fall to focus. No distractions, no applause. Just you and the blueprint, carved in agony, but destined for legacy. 5. Weaponize the memory. Once you rise, never forget the taste of the fall. Never let the scar fade from your memory. You etch that pain into your mind, like a tattoo burned into bone. Because when you climb again, there will be days you want to stop. There will be days you doubt. Days when voices return, whispering, you'll fall again. And that's when you reach into your memory and pull out the proof that you survived worse. You don't fear falling anymore because you already died once. And the version of you that came back, they don't flinch. They don't tremble. They don't run. They hunt. And the fall becomes your greatest weapon. Not because it broke you, but because you built from it. So now I ask you, what if the very thing you feared most, the fall, was the doorway to your higher self? What if everything you wanted was buried beneath the rubble of your old life? What if this collapse was a calling to rise not as you were, but as who you must become? This is not tragedy. This is training. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Let the world talk about success. Let them chase dopamine. We train in the dark. We fall with purpose. And we rise like something no one saw coming. Fall, warrior. Fall again if needed. But master it. Make the fall your kingdom. Then rise as the sovereign of your own damn hell. And once you do, nothing can break you again. Not because you're untouched, but because now you know how to rebuild in ruins. This is the way of the GrimFace soldier. Fall, learn, rebuild, and then walk forward like you own the battlefield. Because now, you do. Lesson 2. Master your internal voice. There is no enemy more ruthless, more persistent, and more dangerous than the voice inside your own mind. You could survive betrayal. You could walk through heartbreak. You could recover from failure. But if your internal voice is poisoned, if the thoughts echoing through your skull are laced with doubt, fear, and self-hate, you'll lose long before you take your first step. The battlefield isn't out there. It's in here. Let this truth cut deep. You will never rise higher than the identity your mind allows you to believe in. You could be surrounded by opportunity, drenched in talent, and burning with potential, and still sabotage everything, because your inner voice is whispering, you're not enough. Most people live their entire lives obeying that voice, never questioning it, never confronting it, never realizing it's not even theirs. It was programmed, layer by layer, by childhood wounds, by broken parents, by abusive teachers, toxic friends, rejections, failures, media conditioning, and most of all, repetition. Say something long enough, and the mind makes it law, even if it's a lie, especially if it's a lie. To master resilience, to rise from the ashes of your lowest point, you must go to war with this voice, not gently, not diplomatically, brutally, like a traitor inside your fortress whispering orders to the enemy. Because make no mistake, that voice is the saboteur. So here's how we master it, step by step, like a soldier reclaiming their throne. 1. Become the observer. The first step is awareness. Most people think their thoughts are them, but the awakened warrior sees it clearly. I am not the voice. I am the one who hears it. This realization is nuclear, because the moment you observe the voice, you create distance. You stop reacting. You stop identifying. You begin commanding. You become the general, not the foot soldier. You no longer serve the thoughts. The thoughts serve you. Throughout the day, catch the patterns. Notice the tone. Is it critical? Is it anxious? Is it small? Is it bitter? Is it resigned? Good. Now you've found the infection. You can't kill what you can't see. Observation is the first cut. 2. Name the lies. Every toxic voice has a signature. You always mess things up. No one wants you around. You'll never make it. Why even try? Those words aren't wisdom. They're echoes. Echoes from a past version of you who gave up, who was wounded, who decided to stay safe instead of risk growth. So drag those voices into the light. Expose them. Name them for what they are. Defensive mechanisms masquerading as truth. Resilience means tearing the mask off your inner critic and saying, "You're not protecting me. You're imprisoning me." The words we allow inside shape the walls of our future. You either speak power, or you live in chains. 3. Rewire through repetition. You do not erase the internal voice once. You retrain it. Like a feral dog, it won't listen the first time you speak. But with consistency, it learns. Understand this. Your mind doesn't obey truth. It obeys what it hears most. So feed it new commands. Relentlessly. Repetitively. Not sugar-coated mantras, but military-grade declarations. Statements forged in purpose, backed by action, charged with belief. Speak with finality, with decision. I will rise. I create my own standards. I am not a victim. I am the architect. I do not bow to fear. It bows to me. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You're not affirming fluff. You're forging new mental highways, new ruts for your wagon wheel to follow. And over time, the voice changes. It becomes your ally, your weapon, your inner armor. 4. Starve the saboteur. The negative voice feeds off habits, doom scrolling, junk food, Weak environments, meaningless conversations, lack of discipline. It thrives in mental clutter, in the absence of vision, in the quiet between commitments. So you starve it. You strip your life down to what sharpens you. You cut away the soft, the fake, the numbing. You fill your days with movement, with books, with breath, with cold air, discipline, hunger, and silence. Until that voice no longer feels at home in your head, until it shrinks in the face of your consistency. This is psychological warfare, and your daily habits are either fueling your enemy or starving it to death. 5. Install the warrior voice. At some point, the old voice will fade, but silence is not enough. You must replace it. Install a new voice, one that sounds like the version of you you're building, one that speaks with steel in its tone, calm, certain, unmoved. This voice doesn't scream, it doesn't panic. It speaks like this: we've seen worse. Stay the course. Emotion is a guest. Let it pass. Stay on mission. You are no longer who you were. You are becoming who you must be. And when chaos returns, because it always will, you don't crumble. You listen. You hear the warrior, and you follow it forward. Not because everything is okay, but because you've mastered the most dangerous battlefield of all: your own mind. Let me leave you with this. If you do not command your thoughts, they will command you. They will convince you to abandon your destiny, to bow before fear, to doubt your worth, to believe that survival is the best you can do. But you weren't born for survival. You were born to rise. You were born to lead your mind like a battalion, to break the programming, to become the voice you needed when you were too weak to speak. This is not about motivation. This is not about hype. This is about dominion. You either rule your internal world, or you become its prisoner. And here at GrimFace, we don't do prison. We do war. We do rewiring. We do relentless self-mastery. So silence the enemy within, sharpen the voice of truth, and march forward like the sovereign of your mind. Because once you master your internal voice, nothing from the outside can ever break you again. Lesson 3. Master your standards. Here's the brutal truth that breaks most people before they ever begin. Your standards are either your prison or your protection. They are the invisible walls you live within, the code you follow when no one is watching. The line between victory and mediocrity is not drawn by talent or luck. It's drawn by standards. And most people, they have none. Or worse, their standards are for show. They say things like, "I deserve better," while accepting worse. They talk discipline, but practice delay. They speak of goals, but live in excuses. Standards are not what you say. They are what you tolerate. And if your life is filled with chaos, drama, fatigue, and failure, that is not random. That is your standard made manifest. You want to master resilience? Then stop trying to feel powerful and start demanding more of yourself, relentlessly. Because here's what no one wants to admit. You will never rise in life until your standards do. Let me walk you through the battlefield of mastering your standards, because this is war against the lowest version of yourself. 1. Understand the power of standards. Your standards are like gravity. They shape everything. The quality of your relationships, your standards. The amount of money you make, your standards. Your fitness, discipline, spiritual connection, mental toughness, all shaped by the bar you've set. But most people never consciously set the bar. They let pain, comfort, society, and laziness set it for them. They become a walking contradiction, saying they want greatness while tolerating mediocrity. Here's the law. You don't get what you want. You get what you demand. And if you're not enforcing your own code, you're living under someone else's. 2. Audit what you've been tolerating. Let's get surgical. Take a hard look at what you've been putting up with. Do you allow distractions to rule your mornings? Do you tolerate people who drain your energy? Do you let days pass without meaningful action? Do you allow self-pity, envy, or fear to stay unchecked in your mind? If so, you are actively violating your potential. Because whatever you tolerate, you invite. And whatever you invite repeatedly becomes your normal. And once something becomes normal, it becomes almost impossible to detect. You stop noticing the poison. You stop noticing how far you've drifted. Until one day, you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. So the audit is where the bloodletting begins. You don't rationalize. You don't justify. You remove, ruthlessly, every weak habit, every fake friend, every excuse you've been calling just life. Gone. Because your future self is not negotiating with these demons. They're erasing them. 3. Set the code. Enforce the code. Live by the code. You need a code. Not guidelines. Not preferences. A code. Something sacred. Something you live by. Especially when it's inconvenient. Write it down if you must. I wake early and own my mornings. I don't explain myself to people who don't live by honor. I eat for energy, not for comfort. I finish what I start. I speak truth, even when it burns. I do not tolerate passive weakness in myself. Whatever your life demands, there must be a code that precedes your emotion. A code that cuts through excuses. A code that doesn't flinch when the world shakes. You don't rise by force of will once. You rise by repetition of code until it becomes instinct. 4th, hold yourself to the standard in the dark. It's easy to act disciplined when others are watching. It's easy to post quotes. It's easy to pretend you're elite when the lights are on. But the real test is what you demand of yourself in the dark, when no one's clapping, when there's no accountability, when there's nothing but you, and the whisper of your lesser self asking, "Can't we skip today? Does it really matter?" And if your standards are weak, you will fold. But if your code is etched in pain, if it was forged in the fall, if you've bled to raise the bar, you won't need permission. You won't need motivation. You'll move, because not moving would be betrayal. You'll show up, because not showing up is treason against the warrior you've become. 5. Apply the standard to everything. There is no such thing as a small area of life. The way you wash your dishes, the way you show up for a 5-minute conversation, the way you treat your mind when no one is watching, all of it matters. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. You don't get to have elite standards in the gym and garbage standards in your relationships. You don't get to demand discipline in business, but indulge chaos in your thoughts. You live by one standard, or you're a walking contradiction. And contradiction kills resilience. It splits your focus. It weakens your edge. It makes you fragile. But when you unify your standards, when everything aligns, you become inevitable. 6. Use pain as a reminder of the standard. There will be moments when you fall below your standard. You'll slip. You'll relapse. You'll betray your own code. And in those moments, do not numb the guilt. Do not run from the discomfort. Do not pacify it with self-love, or no one's perfect. No. You sit in it. You let the pain burn. You let it etch into your memory what happens when you forget the mission. Because pain, when used correctly, becomes a compass. It reminds you who you're not. It screams, "This is not the path." It's your system saying, "You are betraying the warrior within." And if you listen, that pain will harden your standard. It will raise the bar. And next time, you won't fold. 7. Never apologize for the standard. Here's what you need to understand. Once you master your standards, you will be alone. Not because you're wrong, but because most people can't breathe at your altitude. They'll call you rigid. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being cold, intense, obsessed. Let them. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to become unstoppable. And that means you will offend the mediocre. You will intimidate the lazy. You will be misunderstood by the weak. But that's the price of mastery. You don't lower your standards to fit in. You raise them high enough to force people to rise or leave. Because once you live by the standard, you attract those who do the same. And your circle becomes sacred, unbreakable, just like you. So now, I ask you, what have you been tolerating? Where have you let softness become your comfort zone? What would happen if you drew the line right now? This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming untouchable, not through arrogance, but through alignment. And the only way to align with greatness is to raise your standard until your current life is no longer acceptable. Then rebuild, brick by brick, action by action, breath by breath, until every inch of your existence reflects one thing: discipline forged by fire. That's the GrimFace way. No compromise, no dilution, no bowing. We raise the standard, or we die trying. Now look at your life and raise the bar higher, still higher, until only the elite version of you survives. Lesson 4. Master your endurance. Anyone can act tough for a moment. Anyone can show up when motivation is high. Anyone can go hard for a day, a week, maybe even a month. But endurance is where most break. Not because they're weak, but because they never trained for long suffering. They were trained for dopamine, not discipline. They want instant feedback, instant praise, instant results. But this life, this war we are in, it doesn't reward bursts. It rewards grit, consistency, longevity. And most people will never make it, not because they don't have potential, but because they haven't built the mental calluses to keep moving when there's no applause, no sign of progress, no external reward. You want to master resilience? Then master the long game. Master the ability to suffer with purpose, to bleed for years, without quitting. Because true endurance, it's not about how fast you move. It's about how long you can continue, while everything inside you screams to stop. Let's break this down and get real. You want to master endurance? Then you need to build systems that outlast your moods, discipline that outlasts disappointment, vision that outlasts adversity. This is how warriors are built. 1. Redefine what progress looks like. One of the main reasons people quit? They expect growth to be obvious. They want to see results. They want proof. Every single day. But here's the truth. Progress often looks like nothing. It looks like dragging yourself through your workout when you feel like death. It looks like sitting at your desk and doing the work, again, despite exhaustion. It looks like repeating the same habits, same rituals, same disciplines, with zero reward in sight. Endurance is built in the seasons where life feels thankless, where you give everything and get nothing back. But what if that nothing is the test? What if the silence is your proving ground? What if the darkness is the doorway? Because here's the reality. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean you're not changing. Steel isn't forged in fireworks. It's forged in silence, in heat, in pressure, over time. So redefine progress. Progress is when you don't quit. Progress is when you show up again. Progress is when you bleed forward, 1 inch at a time. 2. Build systems, not emotion. Weak people depend on feelings. They chase momentum. They need motivation videos. They wait to feel right. Warriors build systems. They schedule their training. They build routines. They remove friction. They eliminate unnecessary choices. They automate discipline because they understand. There will be days where they feel like dying. Days where their energy is gone. Days where depression whispers in their ear. Just skip this one. Just rest today. Just take a break. And those voices are powerful if you're ruled by emotion. But if you're ruled by system, you don't ask questions, you don't negotiate, you follow orders. Why? Because orders outlast emotion. Systems outlast weakness. You don't endure because you're always strong. You endure because you've removed the option to quit. 3. Embrace boredom like a warrior. The world is addicted to novelty, to entertainment, to stimulation. But endurance? Endurance is boring. It's doing the same things, over and over, until you're elite. It's refining the basics. It's sacrificing excitement for excellence. And most will never do this. Because boredom scares them more than failure. Because silence reveals their emptiness. But for those of us who walk the warrior's path, boredom is the dojo. It's where we sharpen our edge, where we learn to train the mind to stay calm in repetition, where we discover that mastery is not built in fireworks, but in silence, sweat, and simplicity. Endurance is about doing what works, not what feels good. Again, and again, and again, until the world forgets you, and you rise while no one is watching. 4. Manage energy, not just time. You don't endure by pushing harder and harder without thinking. That's not strategy. That's suicide. True endurance comes from management, from learning when to go all in and when to strategically recover. You build cycles, rhythms, cadence. You train your body to go to war, but you also train your soul to recharge in the shadows. Because if you don't manage your energy, you'll burn out. And burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of what doesn't fuel you. So audit everything. Who drains you? What wastes your mental bandwidth? What rituals give you fire? And which ones steal it? The warrior who learns this lasts longer than anyone. Not because they're the strongest, but because they're the smartest. Endurance is not brute force. It's strategic persistence. 5. Find purpose deeper than pain. Let's get honest. You will be tested. You will suffer. You will be tempted to quit. But the only thing stronger than pain is purpose. Not the fluffy why they teach in seminars. I'm talking about the raw, unfiltered reason you keep breathing. The vision you swore to manifest. The identity you're becoming. The mission you promised the younger version of you you'd finish. When your legs give out, purpose carries you. When your heart breaks, purpose becomes your pulse. When life whispers, you're done, purpose roars. We're just getting started. And here's the truth. If your purpose is weak, your endurance will be weaker. So dig deep, deeper than comfort, deeper than ego, deeper than convenience, until you find something worth enduring for. And once you do, nothing will stop you. Not time, not fatigue, not betrayal, not even death itself. 6. Measure life in seasons, not moments. Too many quit in winter, not knowing spring was just a step away. They see one loss and call it over, one rejection and call themselves unworthy, one delay and call it defeat. But those who master endurance, they measure life in seasons. They understand that pain is temporary, that the storm will pass, that what looks like a dead end is just a bend in the path. They zoom out. They see the arc. They see the long war, not just the battle in front of them. And because of that perspective, they last. They stay calm. They remain unmoved in chaos. Because they know this isn't the end. This is just the forge. So let me ask you, how long can you bleed and still build? How many times can you fall and still march forward? How long will you endure when no one sees your effort, applauds your struggle, or comforts your ache? That's the test. That's where we live. Endurance is not sexy. It's not loud. It's not viral. It's you, showing up in silence, bleeding with purpose, beating the odds, not with talent, but with time. Because those who endure, they don't just win, they become inevitable. That's the GrimFace way. Relentless, calm, certain, unstoppable. So the question isn't, can you go hard today? The question is, can you outlast the pain? Can you stay standing after most have folded? Can you still be marching when the world thought you were dead? Good. Then you're ready. Endure, soldier. Endure. Lesson 5. Master your detachment. Let's get something straight. If you cannot let go, you cannot rise. Detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. It's not a lack of love. It's the refusal to be enslaved by attachment to what no longer serves the mission. And most people, they're not stuck because they're weak. They're stuck because they're clinging to the old identity, clinging to relationships that drain them, clinging to beliefs that comfort them while simultaneously destroying their future. They are prisoners to their own attachments, begging for transformation while protecting everything that keeps them the same. No, this path requires death. The death of illusion, the death of sentimental weakness, the death of everything you think you need to survive. Because detachment is not about having nothing. It's about nothing having you. If you want to master resilience, if you want to transcend the average life, you must become a master of letting go. Not once, not twice, but again and again, until the only thing left is the truth. And that truth becomes power. Let's walk through what mastering detachment really means. Not the surface-level nonsense, but the warrior version, where the mind becomes untouchable. 1. Accept that everything is temporary. This is where the fracture begins. Because most people build castles in sand. They pour all their love, hope, time, and energy into people and things they can never control. And then when it's gone, they shatter. But those who master detachment, they build everything with this understanding. This too shall pass. Nothing is mine. Everything is borrowed. Does that mean you don't love deeply? Number, you love deeper. Because you love without chains, without need, without fear. You give your best, but you never attach your identity to the outcome. Because you know everything that enters your life has an expiration date. People, dreams, phases, seasons. And if you don't learn to release when it's time, you become a ghost, haunting a version of life that no longer exists. Master detachment. Accept impermanence, and you will move through chaos with the calm of a god. Second, let go of the old identity. This is the hardest part for most, because we are not attached to things. We are attached to who we were when we had them. That job you lost, you're not grieving the income. You're grieving the status, the identity. That relationship that ended, you're not missing the person. You're missing the version of you who felt desired. But here's the war cry. You are not that person anymore. And if you're still trying to be, you're walking backward through fire. The version of you that's rising now, they need space. They need freedom. They need the old skin to be ripped off. You are evolving, and evolution demands sacrifice. So when you feel the pain of detachment, good. That means something is dying, and what's dying is no longer worthy of who you're becoming. 3. Cut the energetic ties. Let's talk real now. Just because someone isn't in your life anymore doesn't mean they're not still living in your mind, still running through your thoughts, still dictating your decisions. This is the invisible war. You're tied to people through memory, through emotional attachment, through unfinished stories that replay like broken records. And every replay, every what if, every I should have said, ties you to a past that is poisoning your future. Master detachment by cutting those cords. Write the letter you never sent. Burn the memory that won't let you breathe. Forgive them, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. If a name, a place, a voice still has the power to shift your state, you are still in bondage. Cut the rope. Take your power back. Because until you reclaim your full mental territory, you will never be sovereign. 4. Detach from the outcome. Focus on the mission. This is where warriors separate from the world, because average people chase outcomes. They're addicted to results. They want the win, the praise, the recognition. And when they don't get it, they spiral. They quit. They fall apart. But you're on mission. You wake up and execute regardless. You train regardless. You build regardless. Because your commitment is not based on the result. It's based on who you said you would become. You are not here for the trophy. You are here to conquer your own weakness, to dominate the lower self, to stay aligned when nothing is working. Because the real prize is becoming indifferent to the noise, unmoved by the external, focused like a sniper on what you can control. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Detach from the outcome. Focus on the next move, and let the results bend to your will over time. 5. Accept the cost of clarity. Detachment comes with a cost. It always does. You will lose people. You will outgrow environments. You'll feel alone. Why? Because clarity burns. It strips away the illusions, the fake bonds, the emotional dependencies that once felt like home. And when those are gone, you are left standing alone. But also, for the first time, free. Most people don't want clarity. They want comfort. They want to pretend. They want to live in familiar pain rather than face the unknown. But you are different. You are not seeking safety. You are seeking truth, even if it means losing everything you thought you needed. Because what remains after detachment, what survives the burn, is what's real. And real is rare. Real is raw. Real is worth everything. 6th, Practice daily emotional discipline. Detachment is not a one-time purge. It's a daily practice. Every day, you must discipline your emotions. You must observe when the past tries to creep back in, when old habits try to resurrect, when emotional weakness tries to sabotage your clarity. You must stand at the gates of your mind like a sentry. No, that doesn't belong here anymore. Detach from guilt. Detach from shame. Detach from people-pleasing. Detach from trying to be understood by those who were never meant to walk with you. You don't need everyone to get it. You need you to stay focused. You need your soul to remain on mission. Detachment is emotional discipline in motion. And every time you choose presence over nostalgia, every time you choose peace over proving a point, every time you choose solitude over toxic company, you sharpen your edge. And that edge is what cuts you free. So now ask yourself, what are you still clinging to? What version of you are you afraid to let die? What story have you replayed so many times that it's become your prison? Because here's the truth no one wants to face. You cannot walk forward while dragging corpses behind you. Cut the rope. Release the weight. Let it all burn. And from those ashes, you rise. Cleaner, sharper, focused, and utterly untouchable. This is what it means to walk the GrimFace path. We do not cling. We do not beg. We do not mourn what needed to be destroyed. We detach. We discipline. We dominate. And when the world wonders how we're still standing after everything we've lost, we don't explain. We just smile and march. To the returning GrimFace warriors, we see you, we respect you, and we honor your relentless pursuit of growth in a world built to keep you soft. You've chosen the path of fire, the road of self-mastery, the code of discipline, detachment, and unshakable resilience. You're not here by accident. You're here because you refuse to kneel. Every time you show up, every time you bleed forward, you strengthen this movement. This isn't just content. This is combat training for the soul. This is the fire where warriors are forged. And if you're new here, if something inside you stirred while hearing these words, if you felt a part of yourself wake up that you thought was gone, then this is your calling. Subscribe now. Join the GrimFace movement. Stand shoulder to shoulder with thousands of warriors who are done playing weak, done seeking permission, done shrinking for comfort. This is your place, your tribe, your edge. And we're just getting started. Welcome to the Legion. Love, honor, and discipline forever.